Diane, my co-host for today, and she is from Sydney. But today's topic is actually defining your priorities. So no matter which season of life you're currently in, it's helpful to be clear on what's really important to you. This can help in so many ways to ensure we're making the best use of our precious and limited resources, including our time, energy, love, freedom, and more. In this episode, we will give you some ideas on how to define your priorities in life and why it matters. So, welcome. Thank you all for tuning in. And I have Sister Diane. Hello, Sister Diane. How are you?
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our listeners and viewers all around the world. And it's always very lovely to co-host with you, Sister Liberty. And to all listeners and viewers, I'm Sister Diane Karai from the local congregation of Sydney, here in the district of New South Wales, Australia. You know, Sister Liberty, I still need to get used to that because it's for a long time. We've always been together as one district and trying to get used to saying New South Wales, Australia, and then Queensland, Australia. It's still a little bit of, I still need to remind myself a lot of the time. How are you going with this change?
I know, exactly. So every time we go, oh, I forgot, I'm not there's no more Australia East. We are now Queensland, Australia. So yeah, but it's really, really good because it just shows the expansion of the church, and it feels weird because because like there were no like New South Wales, Queensland before. We're all Australia. First, we were all Australia, including
Yes,
Melbourne. And then we had Australia East and Australia West, and now we have
that's right.
Queensland and New South Wales. But maybe a side note for all our listeners and viewers. The New South Wales and Queensland has that, in sports. Remember, it's the state of origin. So we
Oh,
might be
yes, that's
we
right.
might be able to do something similar with INCRadio, a state of origins.
That's right. Well, that's what all the more makes it fun here in INC Radio. And just, in regards for our topic, I'm really looking forward to it, Sister Liberty. So to all our listeners and our viewers, especially now that our chat is actually going very wild, please let us know. Discuss with us as well about our topic today about defining your priorities. How do you define your priorities and why does it actually matters to you? And if you have any tips that you would like to share, please do chat them down on our YouTube live chat below, and we'll do our best to read as much as we can because Sister Liberty, they're gonna challenge again our fast reading because the chat is just going very, very quick. It's going up very quick. So,
I
but we'll
know.
read that through later. So for all those listening on the radio and would like to see the videos and any slideshows that we will be showing today, please visit incmedia.org. So you will actually hear us referring quite a few episodes from this incmedia.org. So please do continue to stay tuned. And also we have our other official websites, which are incradio.org or incradio.iglesianicristo.net. And we also have, mobile applications with the technology that we have now. They are readily made available for you. You can download them at the Play Store if you're an Android user, or Apple Store if you're an Apple user. So to know more about Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ, visit our official website on iglesianicristo.net or, as we said, incmedia.org, because you will find a variety of inspiring stories of our brethren about their different journey as members of the Church of Christ. And you can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/CEBSI.inc. You will be able to see and all the different activities that we are part of inside the Church of Christ, all the initiative that is taken by the church administration to be able to give back to our community. And also you can follow us on Instagram, on INC News and Updates IG, and Twitter as well, INC NAU Twitter, so that you won't miss any of those activities that are happening all around the world. So not just Australia. So to all our listeners and viewers, that's right, you heard it correct. Iglesia Ni Cristo or Church of Christ, we are actually spread in different parts of the world, and every members of the Church of Christ, we all have variety of activities. And our brethren, it's very inspiring, right, Sister Liberty? They have many creativity ideas that they share. So we have different activities like Mr. and Mrs. Chef. So you can see all of those in those websites that we just have given you. So if you need, if you need more clarification, please, send us a message to the chat. We can even leave some of the links there if you would like. And feel free to take down any notes or links that we give out throughout the show, that if you want to watch the full episodes of those stories that we will be talking about later. So Sister Liberty, talking about, for our topic today, defining our priorities. It's actually quite interesting. I hope our listeners and viewers can relate to us as well.
Exactly.
What are they in for today?
Exactly. So, you know, setting priorities, and priorities are very common things we hear in our everyday life. It's in everybody's vocabulary. So for example, you go, oh, do you want to go out tonight? Oh, yeah, no, I need to prioritize my blah 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 blah. Okay, so everybody, all our listeners and viewers are probably some sort of experts in understanding priorities. So we'd really like to know your thoughts and views about priorities. So, what are priorities? What do they mean to you? Um, how do we know what's important to us? Okay, so again, we've already linked that to something else. Knowing what's important. Um, and why does it matter to have priorities? So, I think for us, Sislayan, you and I are in different phases of our life, as we said in our earlier spiel. Um, Different stages of life will have different priorities. So, for myself, as a mom, I have a different, probably I have a different set of priorities from your set of priorities. But I suppose, for both of us as members of the Church of Christ, and to all our viewers and listeners, you will understand this more as we um, go through this episode. But also, that as members of the Church of Christ, I think for us, our priority will always be our membership in the Church of Christ. And if we have duties in the church, we have offices in the church, that's another priority that we have. And and for me as a mom, my family then comes next. And then obviously I'm also a working mom, so I have my career after that. And where does my, what else? So
I'm
those
sure
are
a lot of our
the
moms are able to relate to you, Sister Liberty. Being able to
exactly.
multitask, being able to fulfill your duty. What are some of your duties, Sister Liberty, that you have?
Oh, so I am a deaconess, and I am the head secretary of our local congregation. That's a really huge responsibility, because in the Church of Christ, we make sure that we look after the brethren, and we make sure that we understand, how we can help them. And being a head secretary, that's one of the things that we look at. How are the brethren going? Is there a way we could help them? So we link them to their overseers. We make sure that we support the overseers in terms of information they may need in
Mhm.
order to help the brethren. Yeah, and
That
what
is
else?
very quite a lot on your hands, Sister Liberty, to actually juggle. So how do you actually, I guess, define which one you would prioritize in terms of all of those things that you need to juggle? So, being a mom, being, a career woman, and then fulfilling variety of your church duties as well.
I think again, like, I need to know what's important to me. What is important to me? So for me, what's really, really important is that I meet the expectations of God. And that is, worshiping Him. And as an officer, I perform my duty. I will be there during worship service times. I will be there when other things are needed, at the different activities of the church. So that, knowing what's important is key to understanding what priorities I would have. So, what's important to me, because I will know what to focus on. So, yes, my duty, and then what next? So, obviously, another factor there, what's important to me next, and this also, what God wants is to look after your family. So, as members of the Church of Christ, that's part of God's commandments, that we should look after our family. So that's another important thing. So that's how I know. Okay, so this is next. So I have performed my duty. I make sure I also meet the needs of my family. Um, yeah, in that way. And again, like, that's there are tiny tasks after that, like within. ooh, how do you go this is that and this, how do you match up um, time bound priorities as well? So what's important and what is time bound, like is there a deadline to this task, or um, is there something that needs to be done right now that needs your attention at this very moment? So that's another one that helps me understand what my priorities are, I suppose. How about you, Sriyan? Is yours as complicated as mine?
You know what's a celebrity? I think it's just as much we have on our plate, but very different in a sense where because I'm still not married, so I don't have kids yet. But I think for those who are listeners and viewers who are in this kind of phase of your life, I think at the moment as members of the Church of Christ, we have that main priority. Our always top and foremost priority is being able to fulfill our duties. You know, putting God first, letting Him be the guide of our life. And second, obviously, as you know, similar to your sister Liberty, we have our family that they come as part of our priorities. We make sure that we're there for them when they need us. We're helping each other to be able to give that support and to help one another. And of course, thirdly, we have our work to help us, in our career, and also come under that. I also have my studies to help me support and grow in my career. And we can't forget as well ourselves. So I know we're very busy, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Sister Liberty, being a mom. I don't know how you are able to find time for yourself, because especially you're trying to look after, especially with your young ones, with your children. It can be quite challenging, but I know we try. Even for me, I try to give myself a little bit of a break, even if it means just having a bit of a drive or listening to music, reading one of my favorite book for a few seconds. But that's how I define my priorities. And for me, it matters because that's what makes me me, if that makes sense, Sister Liberty. All of these priorities that I have defined also defines the person that I am. So I just want to toss a little bit before I continue on to our listeners and our viewers. What are your priorities? Why are they actually important to you? How does it define you? So that's why it's mattered to me, because those priorities, it gives me the sense of being me, and it gives me the balance as well. So I'm not just always working, I'm not just always studying, I'm not just very focused on just always fulfilling my duty as well. But all of those defines me who I am. I make sure that I give enough time to be able to achieve, take part even on my full day, for example. Make sure that I start my day with a prayer. I start my day of planning what I need to do for work, looking after, if I have messaged my family, my loved ones, making sure that they have what they need. And then, of course, any schedule that I have for church for that day as well, I make sure that's all part of the planner. So I don't know, Sister Liberty, I'm still a fan of having this planner. So if I so in this technology age,
I
I
love
still
it.
have. If you can see how thick it is,
That's really
but
good.
because I have a tab for each of them. So
That's
one
right.
tab for church, one tab for for choir and for radio, and then one tab for my work, and then also a tab for my personal things that I need to achieve in life. I don't know what about you, Sister Liberty.
I love it. I love it because even though we're of different generations, I still see that you're still using hard copies. Not everyone's into technology, but I suppose I take the easy
I
way.
do use my diary in my mobile phone as well, Sister
Oh,
Liberty, and I use it to give me reminders. But I still
me too.
find that the satisfaction
Of
in terms of like
writing.
writing it down, being able to see that you ticked it off. Like I've done
Mm,
this. I
yeah.
don't know. That's just
I
me.
agree. I agree. Well, I suppose you have a better handwriting than I do because I hate my handwriting.
I can
So,
only wish.
so anyway, I make sure I take advantage of the technology. That's why we have them for reminders and all of that. But yeah, like you, I like how you said, the way you prioritize things also help understand who you are. And again, it's linked to why, what you value most. That's why it's your priority. Okay, so that's you. And again, this is for many of members of the Church of Christ and many officers of the Church of Christ. You will see, viewers and listeners, the identity of the Iglesia Ni Cristo member, because that will always be in their priority. Um, and it's again defined by that priority list, because we always prioritize our services to our Lord God and the different activities that we have in the church, which again um, fosters that identity that we have as servants of God. So really, really important, and that's why it matters to everyone. And how does it matter? It matters in the way we will conduct ourselves, and these priorities are linked to our identity. It's amazing, and again, those priorities later on we'll find out would be another term that we might encounter is linked to our goals. How do we, why are these our set of priorities? It's probably because you have a goal in mind. You're trying to get somewhere, um, and that's going to be always true. So listeners and viewers, make sure you send us, maybe share with us your priority. Actually, how does your priority look like, your priority list, and tell us what priorities are for you and how they matter to you. Yeah. So thank you. So
That's
please stay
right.
tuned. Yeah, please stay tuned. You are listening to INC Radio, Australia Satellite Studio, unofficial satellite studio of INC Radio. We will be right back.
Have you ever woken up to the sound of your phone and started scrolling through your social media accounts before realizing that you've been doing it for more than 30 minutes? Mindless scrolling continues on while you're waiting for the train or even while you're in a queue at the supermarket. Do you ever step back and realize that you spend so many hours on your phone but barely accomplish anything? Tune in to INC Radio Italy North Satellite Studio and let's discuss together how we can all overcome mindless scrolling and become more productive when we are using our phones. See you this Sunday, July 7th at 7 p.m. Central European Summer Time. Subscribe to the official YouTube account of INC Radio DZM954.
This is Iglesia Ni Cristo Radio, Australia, the voice of truth, broadcasting from Sydney.
Welcome back, and you're still listening to INC Radio Australia, one of the official satellite studio of INC Radio. Before we continue on with our topic, Sister Liberty, I think I kind of got a little bit hit watching that promo video from INC Radio satellite studio of Italy, and this is why I love
No,
INC Radio Australia.
I like it. I love it. I hope many people are listening and have seen that spiel. We shall make sure we tune into INC Radio Italy on that
That's
day.
right, sis. I'm very guilty of that, Sister Liberty, in terms of that mindless scrolling. Sometimes it's just sort of like it started very innocent where you just want to check, for example, all the notifications. And I was like, oh, what do I have? I just want to check, and the next minute it's like 30 minutes and an hour has passed already, and so it's very very guilty feeling. And I think that's what brings us back in terms of why is it very important to define your priorities, because if we don't have that priorities, or as you have mentioned before, having those kind of goals, then we will be able, we are going to be easily distracted by, especially with all the technology that we have now. It's very readily available, especially our smartphones that we just have in our hands. And as just that spiel from satellite studio of Italy had mentioned, you won't even realize the time that passes, 30 minutes, an hour, and you haven't accomplished anything. So which is why we really need to define our priorities. So it's very interlinking, Sister Liberty. What is actually the difference between goals and priorities? Why are they actually both important in our lives? We have done our research earlier, but we will read about, let's kind of like have a bit of a discussion about what do you think is the difference between the goal and priority? And to also our listeners and our viewers, what is the difference between them? And, maybe how, if you can share a story, we would love to hear it. We'd love to share it.
Exactly. So I guess, again, feel free, all viewers and listeners, feel free to tell us what your thoughts are. But for myself, I see goals as your bigger framework, because that is where you, as I've mentioned before the break, that's where you want to be, and that will drive your priority list. So maybe let's think of an example, such as, say, maybe, like, your goal is to actually buy a house in 5 years time. So that will then set off a list of priorities, because you want to go think about, oh, what's involved in saving for a house. So your priority will then be, oh, make sure that I put aside a certain amount of money every week, or every payday, and related to that will be making sure you get rid of unnecessary expenses, and related things as well. So for me, the goal is the bigger framework, the bigger picture, I suppose,
Mhm.
and then you set your priorities accordingly. So your priorities will be like your foundation work for the goal, and again, it gives you concrete steps to get to your goal. And again, looking at priorities, we said, like, through prioritizing, we know what's important to us, and the goal gives us that important, like, tells us what is important to us for that, well, defined by certain time frames as well. So
Yeah.
some goals can be long term, some can be short term, like that, but it will help us look at our priorities, and again, shifting priorities in different times of our lives. What do you think, Sister Leanne? How about yourself?
Yeah, no, that's right, Sister Liberty. I think you have given like a very a very distinct description of what is the difference between goals and priorities. So I'm sure our listeners and our viewers are able to relate on that instance. But also, just to give a bit of a disclaimer to our listeners and our viewers, everything that we are discussing afternoon is pertaining to our own personal experience. So we're not experts in terms of this in this topic, or to actually professionals to be able to give whatever advices or tips that we give you that will give you guarantee that it will work for you as well. But this is what has worked for us, and this is why we'd love to hear from you as well, because everyone comes from different walks of life. You have different journeys, and we'd love to know how you're able to overcome, be able to achieve your goals. What are the priorities you've set aside? And so, just going back into our topic, Sister Liberty, as we mentioned earlier, we did a little bit of research, and from the psychology, we have they have given us this definition. So, priority defines the one thing you are dedicating the majority of your time to. Your priority is the thing you do prior to working on other tasks. It is often helpful to have a list of things that you are deprioritizing in return. They are generally set for a year or a quarter and can involve multiple tasks or projects. So, which is pretty much what you have mentioned, Sister Liberty. And a goal is similar to an objective, but smaller and more specific. So it has a clear deadline or a timeline. So just like what Sister Liberty said, you have a goal. You want to buy a house in 5 years. So that's very specific, and you give yourself a timeline. And so your priorities are the list of, I guess, in a sense, your list of things to be able to achieve that goal. So if I may, Sister Liberty, share a little bit, for our listeners and viewers, maybe to have a bit more different example, is I've been blessed to be a part of our in our choir group here in the Sydney leadership, for the Sydney choir leadership here in District of New South Wales. I'm about to say Australia East again.
Oh
but
yeah, we did. You didn't tell us all about your duties in the church yet. So tell us now. Tell us more.
I was trying to explain, it is quite a bit as well, Sister Liberty, but very, very blessed to be able to be a part of here in INC Radio. I'm also hosting. That's one of my duties, and also a choir leader in the local congregation of Sydney, and also helping out in the district multimedia as correspondent. So those are a fair few, and I do help out whenever I can in terms of the district chorale if they have some big presentations. So it's always lovely to work with them. So as I mentioned, obviously being a choir leader, there's a group of us, and I think earlier this year I can say that, our goal was that to how can we actually um, put the choir all together into that next level of hymn singing. And the priority is, we some of the steps that our choir organist has put together. We did some vocal rearrangement. So they did some vocal auditions to reassess how everyone's voice has developed, especially after COVID. Sister Liberty, as I mentioned before, where I think we've lost touch. I know for myself, I've lost my train. So we need quite a bit of refining. And that's what we focused on. That what became our priority. So we did a voice calibration for the choir, give them feedback on, how they can practice on their own, and as collective on the choir, how can we actually, drills that we can be able to harmonize together. We set aside some extra practices. We relearned our music theory as well. So those has become our priority. And of course, now that we have our Thanksgiving, that priority has shifted to focus on learning those new hymns so that we are able to actually be able to sing those hymns much properly, but not forgetting our initial goal, how to elevate the choir. So whatever techniques that we have already learned, we try to apply it in this Thanksgiving. And I must say I'm very, very proud of them for pushing through. We've had a lot of long nights and especially to our choir organists who have put so many hours in the planning and also learning the hymns before they teach it to us. And I'm very, very proud of them, and I feel very blessed that we all work through the same goal, and God has blessed us to be able to actually achieve that through identifying those priorities that we need to work on. And it's, I must say that it's still ongoing process, Sister Liberty, although we've heard already improvements from the choir. But I think that is one of why defining your priorities is quite important, and to be able setting a goal as well, because your goal, they intertwine. So if you have a goal, you are able to identify the priorities that you need to do. And if it gets challenging to fulfill those priorities, you have your goal to look after. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So maybe, you've set your priority from this goal, but those priorities are not being met this way, but you still have that goal. So maybe, there's some flexibility to rearrange your priorities. Maybe there's another way to reach the goal. So, but from your experience, it's very important, as you said, that you have set the priority, because only then would you know that you are working towards the goal. Because I think for me also now, from this conversation, for me, I now think that priority is also, um, like it's like you don't go in blind. Like it's your light to, oh, how am I gonna tackle this goal, or how am I gonna tackle this issue that I have? It's to help you not go in blind for whatever you want to face, or you want to go through. Does that make sense? So so it helps you understand that, yeah, so this is what my measures of success would look like too, those priorities. So it's
That's
really
right,
important.
it's liberty. And plus, when you see those things that as you tick off your to-do list, maybe for some, and as you can see the progress, and as I mentioned, for example, in choir, when you see the progress of what you're working through, it makes you feel happy, right? You feel very achieved. You feel a bit more confident as well, and that's what we wanted to inspire to our listeners and our viewers. Why we are wanting to have this discussion of why is it actually important to define your priorities. It helps you to define the kind of person you are, but also builds the best version of you because as we all know, life, it's never the same. It's always changing. And as people who are living on this earth, we need to continue to be able to adapt to those changes. challenges. And the only way for us to be able to is also refining ourselves through the variety of goals and priorities that we set in life. Is that right, Sister Liberty?
That's right, exactly right. And again, different times in your life, you will set different priorities, and again, different goals will have some different set of priorities. But it is important that we have those priorities set
Yeah.
for ourselves to help us, as you said,
Yeah. What
identify.
about you, Sister Liberty? Did you have any specific goal for this year that you were really, oh, I'm definitely gonna do it, this year, when you were doing your, as we do our normal New Year's resolution, I must say. So, did you have any specific one, and were you able to achieve it? How or why not, if anything?
I suppose mine's more as opposed to my previous example between goals and priorities. um, for me, I have this maybe a medium range goal to make sure that with my youngest son as well, and this was with my eldest son, because I understand that the first few years of life, the first 5 years actually of a child's life is very important. It's very formative. I want to make sure, my goal is to make sure that those first few formative years are secure. That that my son has developed security in his sense of belonging and his identity, and that's why we make sure that we build that really strong, in the language of early years, learning and development. It's that circle of security. So I want to make sure that my sons know that this is their circle of security, that this is their safe space. So I want to make sure that they are secure in that space by having that really strong bond with them and connection. So so at the moment I probably haven't achieved the goal, so still working on it. But I remember that there was a time that that goal was being challenged. So then, I set in motion a list of priorities to make sure that we stick to the goal. Because we were away early in the year for a month, my youngest son, his circle of security has somehow been challenged when we came back, because he's been used to just being us, the core family. So when he came back, he wouldn't settle into kindy. So I had to make sure that that is not my priority for him to feel good being apart from us, and for him to understand that you know that's part of that we're not breaking that circle of security. We are just expanding that circle so that he still is willing to learn, venture out, and grow. So yeah, so at the moment my goal has not been achieved maybe, and for a time it has been challenged, but put in place um, things, priority lists, so that those goals remain there, and you're still on track. So hopefully I'll let you know in a few more years.
Few more years. Well, Sister Liberty, it's very evident your children are very, very blessed to have a mom like you to be able to help them and guide them in anything of the challenges. And I think that's what we need to see a little bit more, where we're not judging every parent, where they are all busy trying to make a living for all their kids. And this is the reason why we trying to remind our listeners and our viewers to always have that, even that 30 minutes of bonding to your children, because that's actually very important. That holds that, as you said, that's very crucial in terms of helping your kids feel that security, to be able to trust, that they have their family who has their back, and be able to be bravely face the world out there and make
Exactly.
friends.
Exactly, it's very, very important, and that's why viewers and listeners tell us what. Oh, actually, there are some um, comments on YouTube that talks about their priorities, and it's my
Oh yes.
son.
Aww.
So, so shout out to Grissom. He said worship service is always a priority. So go North Brisbane. Who else has shared their priorities? But we have a lot of greetings actually. So we want to say hello and thank you for joining us today to all from Melbourne. Their hashtag is just burning our YouTube comments. So
That's right.
Melbourne, Altona, North Brisbane is up there,
Mhm.
Shepparton, Dean Park. So thank you so much. We have so much greetings from Sister Bernadette. Go, hello, Cabin. Who else is here? Um, Sister, is this Gabe? Gabe Del Rosario. Happy Sunday, Paul. There are so many other greetings. Sister Diane, have you seen other things there?
Yes, that's right. So we also have Kim Suniga from Melbourne and Sister Rayanne. And there's also one that caught my eye actually, Sister
Hmm.
Liberty. It's actually from the local congregation of Dean Park from Area 43, but they didn't leave their name. So if you're still logged in, maybe make yourself known to us because we want to do a proper shout out to you because we are seeing actually quite a lot of comments from Dean Park as well. So we want to be able to say who you are. Please comment your name, or if there's quite a few of you from there joining in, feel free to give a shout out. But giving a big shout out to the local congregation of Dean Park. And there's quite a few more. We have from Shepparton as well, local congregation who is in here. But Melbourne and Altona, again, they are really still at war, I guess, in terms of our hashtag. They're
Yeah.
really flooding our YouTube chat. And we also just have a few more birthday greetings, Sister Liberty, and feel free to add more to the list that I have. And to all our listeners and viewers, if you want to greet anyone, for this month of July, please feel free to do so. So we just have Sister Reese de la Cruz, one of my choir member here. So last
Oh,
week
Sister Reese. Hi,
she
Sister Rochelle.
celebrated her sweet
Oh,
18th.
yes, I know. Oh
So
my goodness,
18th
Sister Reese.
birthday.
I hope you still remember us, Sister Reese.
Oh, that's so nice. We'll definitely let her know about that. So happy
Totally.
birthday, Sister Reese, and congratulations on turning 18. So you're now official Kadiwa member. And also following that, we have also Brother Andrew Gonzalez from our local congregation of Sydney as well. We have this is Rubindo Chang. I don't know if I said that correct. Is that right?
Rubina Chong, that's my cousin. Hello,
Oh,
hello,
hello, Pa.
Rob.
Happy
Rubina Chong.
birthday. And who else do we have there from North Brisbane and Caboolture?
Yes. Rubin Duchong is from the local congregation of Pagbagin there in Valenzuela. Sister Marites Balduga from North Brisbane. Happy birthday, Sister Tess. Sister Len from Caboolture. Hello, Sister Len. Happy birthday to you. And we have Brother Jarrell Redoblado. Ooh, is this Ate Wen's son? Hello,
Yes.
Ate Wen. Hello, Brother Jarrell. Happy birthday. Who
And
else?
then
Sister Diane.
yeah, and we also have Sister Shan Costello. I believe they're still from the local congregation of Melbourne. So I used to be in that local, so we are in the same choir group before. So Sister Shan, happy birthday. We also have Sister Pia Carlos Hayward from the local congregation of Lismore. Happy birthday, Ati Pia. And I believe her son Rupert was his birthday as well last week. And last but not the least, we want to save this very special one, our very own executive producer in INCRadio Australia, Sister Ivy Joy Butaya. Happy birthday, Paul. We love you, and we continue to thank you for all your patience and for your guidance throughout for us here, not only in the satellite studio of Australia, but throughout the Asia Oceania that you are looking after.
She's
And
our superwoman. She's a
she
superwoman,
is.
Sister Ivy. Happy birthday.
Yes, Paul. So thank you so much, Ate Ivy. I know you have a big task ahead of you, especially with our 110th year anniversary, but we are very here. Thank you for always supporting us. For any challenges that we've gone through, she's always there giving us her support. So happy birthday, Ate Ivy. We wish you a very wonderful day, to be really spoiled. And, we will always pray for you to be always in good health and for God to continue to bless you because we can always feel your love and your heart in terms of supporting us here and how much you care for INC Radio. And that's why we're still here. So happy birthday, Ate. Enjoy your day. And so before we get back to continue on with our discussion, Sister Liberty. So up next, we actually have a high school student valedictorian, Sister Lindsay Hagaduan to share actually how she balances her priorities and be able to achieve academic success. So please stay tuned. You're still listening to INC Radio Australia Satellite Studio, one of the official satellite studio of INC Radio, and we will be right back.
And for a young valedictorian in Northwest California, let's take a look at how she was able to balance work, family, and academics while prioritizing what matters most. Michelle Pareto has the story.
It is now my pleasure to provide an introduction of our Jefferson High School class of 2022 AEST President and valedictorian, Lindsay Hagaduan.
Ask yourself, what questions do you have for the world, for your community, for yourself? Tanungin mo ang iyong sarili, ano ang mga tanong mo para sa mundo, para sa iyong komunidad, para sa iyong sarili? Who are you grateful for? Kanino ka magpapasalamat?
The main reason I decided to include Tagalog was because, for one thing, I knew my grandma was going to be there. And, since she doesn't live in America, it was a really big deal to me that I made sure to reach out to my parents and my grandma in some kind of way. And it would be a more personal way to kind of thank them for how they've helped me. That there were a lot of ways to study or pursue education was something that caught my interest. But also seeing how my parents have made it a major priority for me to do well in school and work towards a bright future.
And amidst the success and accolades, while striving to balance her busy and challenging schedule, she cites one thing as the highest source of strength and inspiration.
Performing our duties definitely becomes something that's really comforting and almost a way of finding solace in a really stressful day.
Performing her duties as a choir member by leading in the hymn singing of the worship services inside the Church of Christ.
Faith has helped me in the sense that even when I have, personal conflicts or stresses from school and work, having my faith to turn to is something that it almost feels like something to keep me safe.
And entrusting everything to God through prayer.
No matter how much studying I did and everything, making sure that I pray before a test helps me make sure that I am asking God for help in my studies. Good grades, or when I did get into universities, I was able to pray with gratitude for how God blessed me with these opportunities and successes.
Hello po mga kapatid, ako po ang inyong Ate Paula mula po sa programang Like and Share. And remember po mga kapatid, 20 days to go na lang, Iglesia ni Cristo 110th anniversary na. Happy anniversary po!
This is Iglesia ni Cristo Radio, Australia, the voice of truth, broadcasting from Sydney.
Welcome back, and you're still listening to INC Radio Australia, one of the official satellite studio of INC Radio. That is very inspiring to listen to, Sister Liberty, and how she's still at a very young age. She has already defined her priorities, and we have been talking about it earlier, how as members of the Church of Christ, that is one of their definitive characteristic, where they would always put their duties first, putting God on top as a guide into their lives. And I must say, Sister Liberty, being a choir leader, I feel very blessed to see that in our very young members as well inside the Church of Christ, where they come to me sometimes and, trying to arrange their schedules, especially now that we were preparing for our Thanksgiving, be able to, even though they have a lot of exams, their priority is still be able to find a way to fulfill their duty, even though, they're still very young. They never let this kind of challenges, deter them to be able to fulfill their duty. What about you, Sister Liberty? How did you feel about watching that video?
Yeah, really, really inspirational. And you remember and think about all the other brethren who are like that, despite the hardships of life, And I can think back to our brethren here in North Brisbane. Special shout out to everyone there. um, our student visa holders, and those who have newly migrated to Australia. So you see, young families are we have a deacon and deaconess here who has to take the train very late at night with three young children, just so they would perform their duties, because they haven't got a car yet, or they haven't. I think they're still preparing for their driver's license. But anyway, no matter what, like they don't have a car, not a problem. We'll take the train. Student visa holders. I just arrived. I have no family in here. Doesn't matter. I'll perform my duty as a choir. And that's really, really inspirational for everyone. In that way, it shows they are prioritizing their membership, and that gives a really good model to the younger members of the church. And again, even though even though our life stage might be different, our priorities as members of the Church of Christ will remain as that, our priorities to serve
Yeah.
God. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
and
really,
I
really
think
good.
Sister Liberty, I think one of the main mindset from what I've heard from them. So having those kind of, parents who are like from their young age, these children have able to see the sacrifices and the importance or the value that they given to their fulfilling their duties. Is I think they have this mindset where if you put God first in your life, God will provide the rest, whatever you are praying for. And sometimes, I've heard some even of the parents saying to their children that if you are always fulfilling your duty, you put your heart into it, even though sometimes you're probably only thinking about it, but God will provide whatever it is, because that's his way of, blessing you. And I think that's what has been instilled to the young members of the Church of Christ. That's why, even though it's very challenging for them, and, for our international students who have bravely taken the challenge to go to a different place without, to be away from their family, but to secure for a better future, is they forsake the help of God, because they know here inside the Church of Christ, we are their extended family in the different part of the world, and we'll do our best to help them as well to navigate in this, in this foreign country. And also they have that trust that God will protect and guide them for the path that they need to take. And and that's the same from what we have watched from Sister Lindsay Pagaduan. So that's a very short clip that we have just watched to our listeners and our viewers. But feel free to watch that in our incmedia.org to find to actually watch the whole clip. She actually talks about how she actually defines her her priorities, what are actually some of the challenges that she had to face along the way. And it's, I hope it also will give you a motivation watching that. And actually watching it, Sister Liberty, all kind of brought a little bit of tear to myself, because I guess, studying, it reminds me those days that when I was studying and working at the same time, and then trying to balance everything, and you're trying to remember, and looking back, as I say, it's what made you who you are, and you're actually very proud that you were able to overcome that, but through the help of our Lord God.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of other inspirational people, brother Peter Kaisara, he has or he how long has it been now? Since he joined the church. He's very inspirational as well, because you see how he's prioritizing his faith. He's really actually going to, because he's originally from the Cook Island, and he's doing a lot of work there, making sure that he is spreading the word about Iglesia Ni Cristo. He helps out in the propagation. He goes there even though he is actually here, he lives in Australia, but he doesn't mind going over there just so to help with the propagation. So again, it's really showing his priority and what he values the most in his life. So shout out to brother Peter.
That's
Yeah.
Now, Sister Liberty, as we have been saying, the time goes by so very
I
quickly.
know.
So I hope to our listeners and our viewers, you are able to contemplate as well, and have been able to probably have a reflection back of how you actually define your priorities in life, and what are actually, why is it important? Is because it helps us to develop our personality, to be who we are, and to be able to also set goals that we are actually able to achieve, to have a better standing in our life too. And it's important to define your priorities, because it gives you that clarity over where you should invest your time, your energy, and your money. And also to not get distracted, especially with your social media. So hope you are able to enjoy our show today, but please continue to stay tuned. You're still listening to INC Radio Australia Satellite Studio, one of the official satellite studio of INC Radio, and we will be right back.
Hello, brethren on board. I am your mommy, Maylin Bernice. Apart from being a mom, I am also an incoming senior college student majoring in accounting this fall. And I am a deaconess in the local congregation of Las Vegas District of Mountain States.
I will be one of the hosts dito sa ating bagong programa. Samahan kami as we pursue self-development. It will be Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. Philippine time. We'll be sharing tips and stories about balancing life's challenges that will motivate all of us to pursue growth.
So, paano? Here?
This is Iglesia ni Cristo Radio, Australia, the voice of truth, broadcasting from Sydney.
Right. So again, thank you so much. This is INC Radio Australia Satellite Studio. Thank you so much for joining us. The time has gone by so fast, Sister Diane. And we are just really thankful that you have joined us. And thank you for all your greetings. We have so many greetings on YouTube chat. Melbourne, North Brisbane, Altona, Shepparton, New South Wales, Dean Park. So thank you so much. There's so many people that we want to say hi to. Sister Bernadette Moore always has so many greetings for everyone.
That's right.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us.
But I think we need to let them know who is taking the lead for this week.
Ooh.
Wow. Actually, Sister Liberty, North Brisbane has taken quite a bit of a lead for this week. And unfortunately, not quite enough to take over Melbourne. So congratulations to the local congregation of Melbourne for being our top commenter for today as well. So congratulations. Please continue to stay tuned to us, to our lovely listeners and our viewers. Always watch us every Sundays. And before we end our show today, we would just love to give special thanks to our Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, and our Christian Family Organization Coordinator, Brother Angelo Eranio Manalo. So from the INC Radio Satellite Studio of Australia, have a good evening and stay safe, everyone. Continue to stay tuned next Sunday at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Time or 3 p.m. Philippine Time. Join us once again. So please continue to stay tuned, because up next is South Korea Satellite Studio. See you all next week.
Bye. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. See you all next week.
Hello, my sister Cherry. Hello. Hello, Sister Pinky. My enjoy.
Congratulations, local congregation of Melbourne, North Brisbane, Queensland, Altona, Shepparton. We have Dean Park. Thank you all. Tune in next week. Every Sunday.
Australia.
Thank you all. See you.
We are in this dangerous time. Let us not live hard.